Welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report, episode 331. Good afternoon, everybody. It's James Pierce, JP8 Report.
Welcome to the JP8
Well, let me get my volume down.
Report. This is James Pierce with the JP8
Hold
Report.
on just a second, guys.
Episode 331.
Evidently, when you turn your volume all the way down, it doesn't always turn your volume all the way down. But that's all right. All right, so hold on just a second. Let me get my stuff scattered. All right, back. I'm back. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, welcome to the JPA Report. Sorry about the interruption. That was a first. And then before we get started, don't forget, well, first, it's President's Day, okay? That's when we celebrate President Washington and President Lincoln's birthday, all right? And then don't forget to click that follow button to follow the JPA Report, and then give us a like, and then engage us on the chat. I got a friend of mine that coordinates the chat. His name is he goes by Padre, but his name is Retired Rob 53. He's in charge of the chat room. Just give him a heads up. Talk to us. Matter of fact, I'm gonna lead the charge. I'm gonna give us an American flag. There we go. I'm back in. Give us an American flag if you're watching us, and you can do the chat. Matter of fact, if any of y'all know how to do a Texas flag in the Rumble chat, send me an email or whatever. My email is jp8report@gmail.com. Matter of fact, I'll put it in there. jp8report@gmail.com. It's not secret or anything. But yeah, if y'all have an idea how we can do the make our own emojis and put them in the Rumble chat, because I'm a Texan. I would love to be able to put a Texas flag in there. So if any of y'all know how to do that, please do so. All right. So this is the February 16th, and so we have our oh, and I have a cold. So if I lose my voice, my lips are moving, nothing's coming out, it means I lost my voice, okay? Before we get started on the America 250 part, Tyler Reddick won the Daytona 500 yesterday, if you wasn't watching. And he races for Michael Jordan, the great basketball player. And it was the first time Michael Jordan has ever won a Daytona 500 race under his ownership. So congratulations to both Mr. Reddick and the great Michael Jordan. All right. So let's go on to America 250. I have a council war letter from Cambridge on the 16th of February, 1776. At a council of general officers held at headquarters in Cambridge, 16 February, 1776, present His Excellency General Washington, Major Generals Ward and Putnam, Brigadier Generals Thomas, Heath, Spencer, Sullivan, and gates. All right. So His Excellency, the Commander-in-Chief, informed the Council that in consequence of the resolutions of the two councils of war held in this place on the 16th and 18th, he had applied to this government, Connecticut and New Hampshire, for the regiments then voted. Then those regiments were coming in, and if complete, would amount, officers included, to 7,280 men. That the regiments of the United Colonies at these encampments by Saturday's return amounted to 8,797 men fit for duty, besides officers, and 1,450 men on command, which might be ordered to join the respective regiments immediately. That our stock in powder in powder was so small as to afford but little aid from cannon and mortars, and therefore that small arms must be principal reliance in any event till a supply could be obtained. That in the state of Boston Harbor has been all this year and now is a bombardment might possibly destroy the town without doing much damage to the ministerial troops within it, as there were transports wood and watered with a view more than probable to take them in upon any sudden emergency. Consequently, that might not be produce the desired effect. If those transports were sufficient for the embarkation of the army, that from the best intelligence which has been procured to strengthen the army in Boston did not much exceed 5,000 men fit for duty. Means we have an advantage. Modern days, you want a 3-to-1 advantage, 3 attacking to 1 defending. So we're halfway there. That considerable reinforcements were inspected, and when arrived would undoubtedly endeavor to penetrate into the country. If their strength should be sufficient, or removed to some other part of the continent, if not, and thereby greatly harass and fatigue our troops by constant marching and countermarching, for which, in the persistent situation of affairs, they neither were or could be provided. Therefore, that a stroke of well aimed at this critical juncture might put a final end to the war and restore peace and tranquility, so much to be wished for. For these reasons and under these circumstances, and as part of the Cambridge and Roxbury bays were so frozen as to admit an easier entry into the town of Boston than other be obtained either by water or through the lines of the neck. It must have been cold, man. The general desired to know the sentiments of the general officers respecting the general assault upon the question being put, and their opinion demanded. Resolved that an assault on the town of Boston in the present circumstances of the Continental Army is for the following reasons judged improper. Because it is the opinion of the council that the king's forces in the town of Boston, comprehending new raised corps and armed Tories, mount to a much larger number than 5,000, furnished with artillery, assisted by a fleet of possessed of every advantage the situation of the place affords. The officers, in proportion to the number of men, are so many that the troops there may be said to be propriety of a double offered. Because our army is at present very defective in the numbers, this council declared to be sufficient with the purpose of an offensive war, and also deficient in arms to the amount of 2,000 stand. The militia ordered and expected to be here by the first of the month are not more than half arrived, so that the assault on the town of Boston, guard the works and stores, there remain only 12,000 men, militia, commissioned and non-commissioned officers included, a force not more than sufficient to defend the lines and maintain a blockade. Because it appears that the council, by the report of the majority of the generals commanding brigades, that upon discoursing with the field officers of their respective regiments upon the subject of an assault, they in general declared a disapprobation of the measure of exceeding doubtful, because if an assault should be found practicable and expedient at any time, it was declared highly necessary that it should be for some days be preceded by cannonade and bombardment. His Excellency and the Commander-in-Chief then required an opinion of the Council whether it would be advisable to begin cannonade and bombardment with the present stock of powder. Resolved that a cannonade and bombardment will be expedient and advisable as soon as there is a proper supply of powder and not before, and that is, in the meantime, preparations should be made to take possession of Dorchester Hill with a view of the drawing out of the enemy, and the Noodles Island also, if the situation of water and other circumstances will admit of it. That was a really good report. Man, I've spent a lot of time in the Army, and that reminds me of a briefing an officer's, general officer's level briefing. That was really good. All right, so New York Post. Iconic Godfather and Apocalypse Now actor dead at 95. Who is that? Okay. Hey, Rob, if you're watching still, who is that? Who's the Godfather and Apocalypse Now actor that just died? All right. So, before I move on to the rest of the JP8 report, we'll talk about my buddies over at the Dalmatian Burger. Right now, they're open for lunch. They make smash burgers, and they make smash burgers and dogs. All their ingredients are fresh. They're open Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 2 for dinner, and then Monday through Saturday, 11 to 2 for lunch. Give them a try. They're on the west side of Copper's Cove behind Bush's Chicken. And if you need a recommendation, in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, you'll see the Armadillo. It's a great burger. Anything with raspberry preserved jam on it is good. Okay, but that one is good. Okay, I am back. All right, hold on just a second here, guys. I am very interested. Robert Duvall passed away. Oh my goodness. Wow. That is a loss. Oh my goodness, man. Oh, wow. All right. I'm sorry about that, but he's one of my most favorite actors. Him and Gene Hackman. Wow. Just on a side note, my wife and I, our very, very first date, way back in 1993, was we watched Lonesome Dove on a Saturday in the barracks in Germany, and it was the complete series of Lonesome Dove. Wow. He was 95 years old. Wow. Oh, man. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so I'm going to read more about that later, but that's shocking. All right, so back to the JP8 report. So we're going to do a quick update on the situation in Arizona. So I'm going to transition over to her picture right here. So you can look at the black and white so you can find the evil person in that picture. And so we can try to find out who took this lady from her daughters and her son. Okay, so the latest update I have so far right now is the president said something about an hour ago. Said President Trump indicated in the New York Post on Monday that the kidnappers of Nancy Guthrie may face the death penalty if the 84-year-old is not returned unharmed. Trump told the Post in a brief phone interview that would instruct the Justice Department to seek the most severe federal penalties for the abductors if Nancy Guthrie is killed. When the Post asked for clarification and whether he meant the death penalty, Trump answered, "The most, yeah, that's true." All right, and then let me go back to my screen here. All right, and then all the stuff that they were talking about last week, the holster, the jacket, the backpack, all of it was bought at Walmart. Okay, so somewhere in Walmart, someone's been doing some shopping. All right, even the holster was like a $10 holster. And then Miss Guthrie, she made a video last night on Instagram, and very, very distraught. And you have to give it a look if y'all want to watch it. I watched it this morning. It's very disheartening. Okay, she has not lost hope of her mom yet, so neither should we. All right. So we're going to go into some political news now, and that's why most people are here. Oh, and there's some other breaking news. Wendy's, if you like to eat at Wendy's, said they're going to close up to 358 of their restaurants by July. Okay, just so you know. Okay, so let me get back to my screen here. All right, so Virginia, that's where we're going to start. Okay, we started a little bit of this morning on JP's morning brief. We're going to continue on. I got more to it. All right, so Democrat lawmakers in Virginia in control of the state legislature are fast-tracking a proposed new congressional map that would give the competitive state up to 4 more left-leaning U.S. House districts in time for this year's midterm elections. The map, which Democrat governor from the Democratic People's Republic of Virginia, Abigail Spanberger, is expected to sign early next week, would be this week. Okay, I printed this off Saturday. Comes as Virginia voters are getting ready to vote this spring on a ballot measure, a one ballot thing. That's all, one question on it, which would give the legislature, rather than the current nonpartisan commission, redistricting through 2030 election. Republicans are calling the Democrat redistricting effort unconstitutional power grab. Democrats are countering that it's a necessary step to balance out the partisan gerrymandering already implemented in other states by the GOP. Let me stop there. That's in reference to my state of Texas. The difference between Virginia and Texas is that Texas bases its reapportionment maps on our legislature. Virginia in 2020 voted and passed a nonpartisan redistricting committee to be able to apportion out all their seats, a once in a decade reapportionment. What they're trying to do is overturn the people midway through a voting cycle. If they thought this was so important, they should have done that back in 2020. Glenn Youngkin wasn't even governor back then because he didn't get elected to 2022. So this was done when, what's his name? Terry McAuliffe, I think it was, or Ralph Nostrom was still the governor of Virginia. So, I didn't even think about that till just now. You had Democrats in charge when they passed this law, and they had the chance to do a 10-1 margin. And now, thanks to Trump is in office, they're trying to do the same thing. They're trying to change the rules because they don't like the outcome. In Texas, there's nothing in our Constitution say we can't adjust the lines of our congressional districts anytime we want, because it's the right of our state legislature to do that. So take that as it may, communists. Virginia is the latest battlegrounds with Florida on deck in an ongoing high-stakes battle between President Trump and Republicans versus Democrats to alter the congressional maps ahead of November's elections. Republicans are defending their razor-thin House majority in the midterms, and Democrats need a net gain of just 3 seats to win back control of the chamber. That means the redistricting efforts in Virginia and other states may very well decide which party controls the House next year. Don't worry, I'm getting into what that title of the podcast is, okay? Thank you, Rob. I appreciate that, okay? It's happening all over the country. The narrative in the new ad by Virginians is for fair elections. Politicians, this is ridiculous, these people. The Democrats aligned public advocacy group tells Fox News is spending an initial 7-figure ad run statewide for the Commonwealth. 7 figures, that's over $1 million, right? These stupid Democrats are already broke. They're like $15 million in the hole. Just look at their campaign finance report. You'll know. The new map, if implemented before midterms, would give Democrats a shot at flipping 4 GOP-held congressional seats, turning 6-5 edge into a 10-1 advantage. But the rival Virginians for Fair Maps, a Republican-aligned group that opposes the redistricting push, highlights the Virginians came together to pass bipartisan redistricting reform, a process that took the power to draw maps out of politicians' hands. Now, politicians in Richmond want to undo that process, and the Republican National Committee has called the Democrats' push in Virginia a power grab. Democrats were dealt a big blow after a court blocked their efforts to amend the Constitution in order to redraw the lines, with the circuit court in conservative Tazewell County saying Democrats didn't follow proper procedures. The ruling was appealed, and both sides are waiting to see if the Virginia Supreme Court weighs in which they did yesterday. All right, they're saying it could proceed. The clock is ticking with early voting starting on March 6th. I don't even know you could print off ballots that fast. Aiming to prevent what's happening in his first term in the White House, Democrats claim the House majority in the 2018 midterms. Trump last spring first floated the idea of a rare but not unheard of mid-decade congressional redistricting. It started here in Texas. We passed it after our Democrats took vacations on 2 separate occasions. And then it went to California. And then it's going toward Florida, Missouri, Ohio, and North Carolina. Okay? So, that's the first part. All right? Yeah. Okay. So, get rid of this paper. Let me get back to where we really are going on here. The next one is we're to the point where, man, I tell you what, this is something else. Get my page ready here. Representative Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader from New York City, vowed to apply pressure to Maryland Democrat State President Ferguson. Okay, I'm in Maryland, but I'm about to go back down to Virginia. Let's talk about Maryland because it's a fight within your own party. The governor, West, I can't wear my medals right more, um, is backing his plan to withdraw the one Republican essentially out of his district. This has passed the state house, but it's being held up by the state senate by one man, the state senate president Bill Ferguson. Bill Ferguson, who is not bringing this to the floor for a vote, could cost you the majority. The Democrat state senate president in Maryland. Ferguson urged his party in a letter in October to avoid pursuing mid-cycle redistricting measures to draw Maryland's congressional lines, fearing that the process could backfire. Democrat Governor Wes Moore brushed off the Senate president's warning in November. He'd have to live with that if that's the outcome at the end of the day. But I don't think it's going to be the outcome because we know we have the majority right now as we speak in the Maryland State Senate. And all we're asking President Ferguson to do is allow democracy to prevail, Jeffrey said. What's that means, an up or down vote. One man shouldn't stand in the way of Maryland through their representatives in the state senate being able to decide should we go in this direction or should we not answer Donald Trump's continued efforts to rig the midterms. The House Minority Leader continued. Jeffries argued, like, how many Republicans are in Connecticut and Rhode Island and Massachusetts and I believe in Vermont too, in all their in all their congressional districts. How many Republicans are in there at all? Okay, Jeffries argued that the Democrats were taking issue with gerrymandering to the voters compared to what the Republicans are doing, who he said are passing maps or intentionally gerrymandering, often wiping away Black and Latino districts in the dead of night. Let me remind the minority leader of the House of Representatives that the Supreme Court said you cannot have majority-minority districts. It's got to be based on politics, not on race. Sometimes you can't see the forest through the trees. When asked about Ferguson's comments over legal challenges and the law potentially backfiring on the party, Jeffries said he's not right. The House Minority Leader then vowed to apply pressure to Ferguson if he stood in the way. At some point, I'm going to have a conversation with him if he continues to stand in the way of an up or down vote. But hopefully, over the next few days, he'll change his mind. Ferguson did not immediately return Fox News request for comment. Jeffries said Democrats were attempting to redistrict across the country to make sure the national map is fair and free. Texas Republicans successfully passed a new congressional map in August, which added 5 new Republican-leaning districts in the state. And so whatever advantage Republicans thought they were going to obtain by gerrymandering in red states across the country, we are going to make sure those advantages are completely and totally wiped out. Okay, here we go. Raju asked Jeffries about how much money the Democrats are willing to spend to get a ballot initiative in Virginia passed specifically. The Senate voted 21-16 along party lines on Wednesday to pass a new set of congressional maps that would leave just one Republican in a district play. And 46% of the people voted Republican in Virginia. Okay? That's all gone. So this is what he said. Whatever it takes, he responded. we will spend tens of millions of dollars to make sure that the Republicans do not successfully manipulate voters in Virginia, and that voters have all the information necessary to make a decision on whether they want Donald Trump to rig midterm elections and halt the ability of American people to decide who's in the majority, of whether the people of Virginia and the people of America should be the ones to decide. Whatever it takes, we will spend tens of millions of dollars. Let me say it again. Whatever it takes, he responded, we will spend tens of millions of dollars. That is utterly ridiculous. You know what? Let them spend the tens of millions of dollars. They're already $15 million in the hole, and they're going to spend more. Who's going to give them that money? Where is this dark money going to come from? Because I'm telling you, let them spend the tens of millions of dollars. Because all they're going to do is irk the people of Virginia. They've already voted to put Republicans in office before. They will put them back in again. And they may lose more than what they bargained for, because if they spend tens of millions of dollars on a ballot initiative in Virginia, what are they going to spend the rest of the country? Where are they going to get that money to campaign against well-funded Republicans across the United States? Because we're prepared. We're raising money. We're organizing. I'm organizing. I got my own group. We are doing what it takes to defend our majority in the House of Representatives. And this knucklehead that from New York City thinks that they're going to spend tens of millions of dollars for one question on the ballot so they can try to get 4 congressional. They're only Democrat-leaning districts. And it could easily jump over to the Republican column again, and they will be out tens of millions of dollars, and our president, Donald J. Trump, will have a hefty majority inside the Congress. And if the Supreme Court makes a final ruling on the Voter Rights Act about majority-minority districts, because they've already issued a preliminary, it could be like 20 more seats shift back into the Republican side, because it would be unconstitutional to have a race-based seat in Congress, in which it is discriminatory and racist to have something like that. All right? So, but wait, there's more. All right. So, what do we got? We got 10 people online. That's cool. All right. So, let me go over here. Still waiting. I'm going to refresh my screen here. All right. So, I am going to... Give me a second here. Yeah, I'm going to do this because Rumble just started this. So, check this out. Y'all will like this. I know some of y'all probably already know about it. They can freeze your accounts. They can shut off your cards, lock you out of your own money overnight. Banks don't protect you. They control you. That's why real financial freedom starts with ownership. Introducing Rumble Wallet, a non-custodial wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like Bitcoin and Tether. You can own Tether Gold, real gold, on the blockchain. Through the Tether Gold, you can get direct ownership of physical gold bars, each one fully allocated, verifiable with serial number or purity of weight. This isn't paper gold. This isn't IOU. It's real gold without bank vaults, storage fees, or gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, or move it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when traditional gold markets are closed. If you want Tether gold can be redeemed for physical gold. That's power. And when you support creators on Rumble, you can tip them directly using Rumble Wallet, peer-to-peer, and outside the banking system. No permissions, no middlemen, no cancel button. This wallet is yours forever. All right. That's Rumble Wallet. All right. Give them a shot. I do it too, okay? All right. So what I was going to get at is, here we go. So this was a what do you call it? An opinion piece through Fox News. And then when I read this on Valentine's Day, I said, I've got to include this in my podcast on Monday. As America turns 250, this was written by Curtis Shuby. Trump should restore Washington, D.C.'s original borders. Virginia Democrats just proposed an electoral map that would potentially give Democrats 10 of the state's 11 representatives in the House, a state which voted for Trump 46% for Trump. And it is outlandish to only give Republican voters 9% of the state's representation. Virginia should be careful, though. The only reason it has that much representation is because of its racist past. Perhaps President Trump should rectify their historical wrong with a long overdue fix. You see, 179 years ago, Arlington, once part of the District of Columbia, was given to Virginia for the express purpose of continuing slavery in Northern Virginia. Now, Arlington, once part of the District of Columbia, is home to nearly 200,000 Virginians, a great many of whom are D.C. bureaucrats, who now enjoy the benefits of living in the states while also exerting disproportionate influence over the federal government. They receive essentially double representation. If Arlington residents want to influence Washington, they should be in Washington, just as the founders intended. Some history. In 1790, the District of Columbia was created. Its location was seated directly between Maryland and Virginia, with both sides ceding 5 miles of the land. But in 1847, after the district pressed for abolition of slavery, Alexandria, now Arlington County, was officially retroceded after President James K. Polk issued a proclamation and the Virginia legislature accepted. Like the Civil War that followed, there were financial, strategic, and voting interests at stake at the time. It is hard to argue that slavery was not the prime motivator. Virginians were afraid that slaves would simply walk across the boundary into the district and become free. With the physical barrier of the Potomac River, that's a wide river, parting Virginia from the district, slaves would be unable to gain their freedom. And indeed, the result of retrocession, slavery expanded into Virginia even after the district abolished it. The Supreme Court never weighed in on whether this maneuver was constitutional. It did acknowledge the transfer, but in a tax dispute. The D.C. Circuit issued a ruling that presumed constitutionally, but in an estates case. As a result, legitimate constitutional questions have been left to linger for 179 years. The Contracts Clause of Article 1 of the Constitution states, "No party shall enter into any law impairing the obligation of contracts." In Virginia's agreement, the United States, it forever ceded and relinquished a full, resolute right and exclusive jurisdiction. The land was given for a permanent seat of government. If the agreement was permanent and forever, how then could a state initiate a law that impairs the contractual agreement? There are other constitutional concerns, and numerous agencies are housed in Arlington County. Yet Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of the Constitution describes the seat of government as a tract of land that has been secession by particular states. In other words, the Constitution contemplated a seat of government to be independent of any state. Okay, that being said, I have my book with the Constitution in it, right? So it says right here, Clause 17, to exercise the exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such a district not exceeding 10 miles square as may by cession of particular states and acceptance by Congress become the seat of the government of the United States, and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state in which the same shall be for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings, and to make laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into the execution of the foregoing powers and the other powers vested by this Constitution of the United States in any of the department or officer thereof. Section 1, Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution. All right? Close this back up, put it where I don't lose it. That's why I keep a copy of the Constitution with me. All right, hold on just a second. Bring that back up. All right, if you agree with what I just read, and we have several people online right now, give me an American flag in the chat. It looks like Arlington, Virginia doesn't really belong to Arlington, Virginia. It belongs to Arlington, District of Columbia, a federal city. Hold on just a second. All right. Yeah, give me an American flag if you agree with me. This makes sense by placing a substantial portion of the federal government in a single state. That state, by logical extension, gains more power than the rest. That is precisely why separate land was important to the founders. Everything was about balance and separating power and influence. An attempt to restore the district would not be unique to President Trump. Subsequent presidents like Abraham Lincoln called for undoing retrocession. President William Taft, that was in the 20th century, who said it was not even constitutional, calling for restoring the land back to the district. An article at the time noted that the entire effort for retrocession was to prevent fugitive slaves escaping from Virginia. In a time of efforts to undo historical injustice around race, it is hard to understand how this has not been revisited. But not for racist motives, the land would have remained a part of the district permanently and forever, just like the Constitution says, just as both states and President George Washington intended. Thus, practically, legally, and from a historical injustice perspective, it makes sense that rescission, restoring the original secession, be revisited. President Trump should consider issuing an executive order directing the DOJ and other agencies to explore the constitutionality of the 1847 retrocession and potentially actions that would be taken to restore the district to its original intended boundaries and purposes as we make to celebrate America's 250th birthday. It would be a fitting moment for him to return to Arlington's residence to their constitutionally approved residence. Virginians could also sleep better knowing that they had righted a centuries-old wrong. You know, for many, many, many years, up to a few days ago, I was always wondering, because when I read the Constitution, it was supposed to be like this, right? But whenever I looked at a map of Washington, D.C., it wasn't like that. It was like this. And I'm like, where's the rest of the land? And then I read that it was given back to Virginia. But it was not explained why it was given back to Virginia. And now I read this in the Constitution. It looks like in 1847, that wasn't even legal to do. They were just trying to prevent slaves from Democrat control of Virginia. Like, oh wow, Virginia's Democrat control again. From slaves from escaping into the Washington, D.C. So if they gave that area up to the Potomac back to Virginia, then slaves couldn't escape to the free District of Columbia because they would have to cross the Potomac River. I think they really should actually explore doing this because it makes total sense. If you agree with that, give me an American flag in the chat, please. Or give me a comment. All right. So we've talked about those today so far, right? Now we're going to escape to overseas. Hillary Clinton. You know, crooked Hillary. I watched it with Beach Split. Okay? Whatever that's called. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton clashed with a Czech political leader, I believe it's the Prime Minister, at the Munich Securities Conference in Germany on Saturday. Clinton was speaking during a panel with the state of the state of the West, where she heavily criticized Donald Trump for his dealings with Europe. Peter McKinka, a Czech deputy prime minister, defended the Trump administration as Clinton repeatedly mocked his statements and tried to speak over him. First, I think you really don't like him, Machinka said as he began to respond to Clinton's Trump bashing. You know, that is absolutely true, Clinton said, but not only do I not like him, I do not like that he's actually doing to the United States and the world. I think you should take a hard look at if you think there's something good that's come of it. Well, what Trump is doing in America, I think, is a reaction to some of his policies that really went too far from the regular people. Machinka said as Clinton interjected to ask for examples. Machinka referenced woke ideologies, gender theories, and cancel culture. Why is a foreign leader defending our president? Why are we having people like Gavin Newsom, Hillary Clinton, and Sandy Cortez, Anastasia Ortiz Cortez? She went by Sandy when she was in school, but that's beside the fact. They are openly criticizing the President of the United States outside the borders of the United States in an arena where our own political leaders, our Secretary of State, our Vice President of the United States are speaking before political leaders from around the world. Why are we allowing dissidents, and I will call them dissidents because they are dissidents, Hillary Clinton and her motley crew of leftist communist liberals are openly destroying the reputation of the United States. Oh man, I tell you, if it was. remember, I still have a cold, so I gotta keep drinking, and I gotta keep taking cough drops. Okay. Refresh. All right, where am I at? I'm gonna do a good news story. I'm tired of talking all this bad stuff. Okay, so there we go. President Lincoln. I just mentioned him in an article just a minute ago. A one of its kind flag that draped former President Abraham Lincoln's casket during a funeral procession has found a new home in the Big Apple at a Midtown steakhouse. Keen's Steakhouse, a 141-year-old white tablecloth joint known for its extensive collection of Americana memorabilia, unveiled a gargantuan $500,000 auction find during a private unveiling ceremony on Thursday. It's truly a treasure, Keen's Steakhouse General Manager Julia Lisowski told the Post of the historic flag, which was used in procession after Lincoln was assassinated in office in 1865. It's a really special and amazing piece of history that we're so honored to have here. The 37-star flag, believed the only surviving casket flag from Lincoln's funeral train from Washington, D.C. to his burial site in Springfield, Illinois, will be permanently displayed in the restaurant's second-floor Lincoln Room treasure trove of presidential artifacts, where history is served. Hold on. Okay. Alongside of mutton chops and porterhouse steak. The flag's new gigs mark somewhat a return home to New York, Lukowski said. It was commissioned from a storied Fulton Street-based flag maker, Anand. I bought Anand flags before. That's cool. Known for its largest and oldest flag-making operation in the nation. How many of y'all know that about Anand flags? Because they make a lot of American flags. As part of the funeral train procession, it traveled 1,600-mile journey through hundreds of U.S. towns in 1865 and even passed through City Hall in Manhattan. Known as the Applegate flag due to its provenance handed down through generations of the descendants of the Army doctor Louis Applegate's family for more than 150 years, the flag was gifted to the physician from Senator Edwin D. Morgan, who was one of the only 6 Senate pallbearers who rode with the funeral train. After exiting Applegate's lineage in 1977, he exchanged hands in 2 other families. The flag was donated to the Museum of Southern History in Jacksonville, Florida in 1996 until it was discovered down a dark highway behind a bookcase during an inventory check in 2023, where it was around that time that Keen's ownership also changed hands to billionaire Tillman Fertitta for a cool $30 million. Lisowski called it kismet that Fertitta stepped into the role as auction house Guernsey's put the flag up for sale in 2024. The hospitality mogul behind the likes of Rainforest Cafe, I've been there before, and Bubblegum Shrimp, been there before too, grabbed the famed flag for $525,000. But it still took months to bring the American history relic back to life, as the flag then went through a months-long restoration process at the St. John the Divine Textile Conservation Laboratory. Lab director Marlene Adehelt recalled that the flag was thoroughly examined and treated for tears and dirt, but it wasn't bad as far as presidential Civil War era artifacts go. The flag joins a swath of Lincoln memorabilia in Keene's upstairs dining room, including political cartoons, a famous Bixby letter from Lincoln to a Union Army widow who lost 5 sons in the Civil War, and a strained program that contained famed articles claims that Lincoln was holding at Ford's Theater when he was fatally shot by John Wilkes Booth. The flag also serves as the first 21st century addition to Keene's extensive Lincoln Room edition and the latest acquisition since at least the 1950s. Guests come to Keene's not just for the meal, but a sense of history. And the Abraham Lincoln casket flag of 1865 was one of the most meaningful artifacts we've ever had the privilege to display. And Keene's is always as a steward for American history and welcoming an extraordinary piece in the Lincoln Room allows us to honor President Lincoln's legacy in a way that feels both intimate and profound. You know, that'd be a good place to visit. That would be an awesome place just to see a 37-star flag. Wow. Okay. All right. So where we look at? We're at 12:55. All right. So I'm going to hold on to these two till tomorrow morning. Okay, we got that there. We got that there. I printed something that didn't come out. What's up with that? Okay. Oh, no, there it is, I think. Yeah. Okay, I'll do that in the morning. So, early voting starts tomorrow in Texas. It runs from the 17th of February to the 27th of February, and then our primary day is the 3rd of March. All right, this is a pretty heated. I just saw a Greg Abbott commercial on TV a while ago, and it was awesome. So anyone that's trying to challenge him, either as a Democrat in November or as a Republican for March 3rd, they got a thing coming. Okay, so one of the things that are being campaigned on, but not a lot of people are paying attention to, are state ballot propositions. These are propositions that come from the State Republican Executive Committee on the Republican Party of Texas. And there's 10 propositions. I think there's 10 propositions. Yeah, 10. And we vote on them and become the party plank. It doesn't mean they're going to become law. It's just a matter of discussion for us to talk about. And I believe at the end of May when we have our convention. All right. So these are our propositions. Prop 1, property taxes should be assessed at the purchase price and phased out entirely over the next 6 years. I have issues with that one. Okay. Texas should require any local government budget that raises property taxes to be approved by voters in a November general election. I agree. Texas should prohibit denial of health care for any medical service based solely on the patient's vaccination status. I agree. Texas should require its public schools to teach that life begins at fertilization. I agree. Texas should ban gender, sexuality, and reproductive clinics and services in K-12 schools. I agree. Texas should enact term limits on all elected officials. I absolutely agree. Texas should ban the large-scale export of or sale of our groundwater to surface water to any single private or public entity. I agree. The Texas legislature should reduce the burden of illegal immigration on taxpayers by ending public services for illegal aliens. I agree. The Republican-controlled Texas legislature should stop awarding leadership positions, including committee and subcommittee chairmanships and vice chairmanships, to Democrats. I absolutely, totally, fantastically agree to that one. And in Prop 10, Texas should prohibit Sharia law. I agree. That's not prohibiting Muslims. That's prohibiting Sharia law. Okay? If you know, you know. All right? So, that is, I talked about that. And then I want to talk about one thing in the Texas scorecard that deals with elections. Texas ballot harvesting ban upheld in federal appeals court. Okay, make sure everyone can still see me. All right, Texas law banning paid ballot harvesting has been upheld in the U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans. This decision reversed a district court ruling that had blocked the state from enforcing the ban, although the ruling had been stayed. The state will continue enforcing the law for the upcoming 2026 primary elections, pending an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. Lawmakers passed a ban on paid ballot harvesting in 2021 as part of a comprehensive election integrity measure known as Senate Bill 1. The law established third-degree felonies for participating in paid vote harvesting scheme under the Texas Election Integrity Act. The law defines vote harvesting as in-person interaction with voters in the physical presence of their official ballot or ballot voted by mail with the intended to deliver votes for a specific candidate or measure, like those propositions I just read. Almost immediately, lawsuits were filed by a variety of left-wing plaintiffs seeking to block enforcement of the law. Why would Democrats want to prevent mail-in balloting? Maybe they want to cheat. Okay. The Fifth Circuit opinion, the plaintiffs were described as a group of organizations engaged in get-out-the-vote efforts that could be construed as illegal vote harvesting that have attacked many aspects of SB 1. The opinion states that SB 1's provisions were being serially litigated before the district court for reasons that are not obviously considering the similarities of parties, issues, and witnesses. Notable plaintiffs were La Union de Pueblo Intero, Lupe, League of Women Voters, Texas NAACP, the League of United, it's called LULAC, League of United Latin American Citizens. And just so you know, not all LULACs are liberal. Some of them are conservative, okay? The plaintiffs argue that SB 1 is impermissibly vague under the due process clause of the 14th Amendment and impermissible content-based restriction on political speech under the First Amendment. That's not political speech. That's taking someone's ballot and you know how they voted and you decided whether the vote is to be submitted or not. District Court Javier Rodriguez agreed with the plaintiffs, and it was appealed, and Texas Attorney General appealed it to the Fifth Circuit Court and secured a temporary stay on October 4th in 2024, right before Election Day. 2 weeks later, the Fifth Circuit granted a full stay pending appeal, allowing SB 1 while litigation proceeds. The opinion. On Thursday, a 3-judge panel in the Fifth Circuit finally released its opinion, reversing district court judgment, effectively upholding SB 1. 5 years after it was passed, the district court erred in facially striking down or factually striking down this provision and entering into an injunction against state officials in violation of sovereign immunity. Accordingly, the district court's judgment is reversed. Read the order. Written by Judge Edith Jones, the opinion provides a powerful argument in defense of Texas' right to ban paid ballot harvesting. Wow. Congratulations. Thank you very much, Mr. Ken Paxton, our great Attorney General. That was something else. Okay. So, as we end today's episode, we're already way past that time. That's all right. I don't mind talking to people. One other thing I learned in the Texas scorecard, the population of Texas as of July of 2025 was 31.7 million people. California is down to 39.53. So 32, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're about a little bit less than 7 million away from taking over California. All right. Which is cool. And we're going to go over the props tomorrow morning also as the early vote starts. All right. Anything else I can bring up? I can't believe that about Robert Duvall passing away. Man, that is something else. Oh, wow. Okay. So, did I miss anything that I can talk of? Don't forget about the Lincoln Reagan dinner. I'm not even going to put the placard up. All right. If you want to go to our Lincoln Reagan dinner in Coryell County in Gatesville, it's February 21st, this coming Saturday at 6 p.m. in Gatesville at the Texas Star Event Center. Our Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is going to be the keynote speaker. It starts at 6 p.m. It's $60 a person or $100 per couple. You can buy the tickets. If you go to my show notes, at the bottom you'll see Coryell County GOP Lincoln Reagan dinner link. Click on that link. It'll take you over there. You can either leave a donation for the Republican Party in there, or you can buy tickets, or you can do both. All right. I have a table there. Me and a couple friends went in together and got us a table. Other than that, let's see. And then the primary day is March 3rd. Don't forget to get out and vote. Because what if it freezes, or what if you get sick and you don't want to leave the house, or you can't leave the house? So that's why you get out and early vote. All right. And it's not like here in Texas, we have 2 weeks from today is primary day. We're not like Virginia and gives you 6 weeks to go out and early vote, which is absolutely nuts. Why would you do something like that? You can flock the results real easy. And that was good news about the deal about SB1. That was passed in 2021. And it took that long to go through the courts to be viable as legal. I mean, that's ridiculous. But we got it rectified. So there's no paid ballot harvesting in the state of Texas. All right. So if you want to find me, I'm on X and Facebook and ScrewTube. Okay. Those are the addresses on them. I'm on True Social, James A. Pierce. And my email address is jp8report@gmail.com. And like I was saying about my email address, if by chance you know how to make an emoji on Rumble, please send me an email and let me know how to do that, because I would love to make one with the state of Texas in it, because I think that would be cool. All right. So I'm going to sign off because I got to rest my voice. I'm going to eat some ramen noodles in just a minute, just some soup, try to relax a little bit. So I'll be ready for tomorrow morning. Hopefully I have a voice. If I'm doing my podcast by cards, you know I lost my voice. But I will be here like the post office. Rain, sleet, hail, shine. temperatures freezing, snow, whatever, tornadoes, I'll still be here tomorrow morning at 6:30. All right, with the JP's morning brief. All right. So thank y'all very much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. Thank y'all for everyone that interacted with us on the chat, or even wanted to. I actually got to do an ad read today, which was really cool. I appreciate that. But yeah, y'all have a great day. This is James Pierce of the JP8 Report. I'll catch you on the flip side. I'm out.